And everybody said that Malice wasn't a real deck for this format. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. We actually have your breakdown for the Houston, Texas regional. I get yelled at when I don't get the chance to cover these events. So for what we have for this breakdown, half of our field was yummy. Now, what's incredibly interesting about this is 3 of these lists are technically Mitsurugi yummy list. Now, if you've been paying attention to this was something that Triff kind of introduced to the world and said, hey, you know, we have this level of synergy out here that we're able to incorporate into this deck, and you're actually able to kind of do some stupid board making with it. And that was just kind of the end of it, you know. We saw that, you know, you can build these 60 card builds. You can incorporate all these cool tech choices into it, and you know, it is kind of interesting. We also had 2 Mitsu variants, so technically out of this top cut you had 5 whole Mitsurugi variants looking to take down this event. That's kind of crazy. Now, we did have this Malice challenger come out of nowhere. And, you know, after the loss of certain cards, a lot of people just kind of considered the Malice deck to be done. You know, you don't really get the easier ways to play around, you know, hand traps. And, you know, yeah, the deck is supposed to be dead. No, that's it's not the case, actually. We got a very good showing of what this deck is still very much capable of doing here. And we'll take a look at that list here in a second. We also had this Mystical Orchestra player come out of the woodwork. I unfortunately do not have the list for this, but what I'm assuming here is we got a good, strong foundation for Orchestra. Also, taking our opponent's stuff is not a new concept. I mean, it is incredibly good when it does show up. Let's pass on over to deck list. Starting things off here, we actually have a working Malice deck. And, you know, I think I'm more proud of this to see coming out than we should. Now, obviously, you're going to notice that one of these things is not like the other. We actually have returned back to the world of playing the missing trap card. And you know what? I actually think that that's fine. Honestly, I think this card has a little bit more value in it now because you don't really have the necessary, you know, extension powers that you used to have. It kind of feels like now at this point that you're going to have to value your resources a little bit more and this sort of thing. Also having the trap card to kind of bring back, I do think works out. Now, because we lost Dormouse and we still have White Rabbit locked up, you have to make the concessions and you're going to have to play the triple Chessy Cat. And you're going to have to even go as far as to play the triple March Hare, which I do kind of like. I also do see that our dear old friend Dot Scraper is back in circulation. Now, this kind of makes sense to me, honestly. Dot Scraper is one of those cards that you're just going to have to kind of accept that you're probably going to have to play now because you have to generate that extra body. You can be like, well, you know, I don't need the extra piece. I really do think you do. I think having this is going to actually help you out a lot more than you can think. And yeah, I know if you play Dot Scraper, you're behind. It's a new format. This deck is obviously deemed really, really bad at this point. Also, you do see we are playing 2 SP down here. So the reason for this is because SP can also be deemed as a extender for this deck because you can actually just kick a Malice link out of the graveyard and it can revive itself, which is kind of a nice little handiwork actually for kind of revisiting the current state of this. Also, we do have some viruses down here, which are probably going to be important pieces for this deck. Next up here. Oh, God, man. The fact that we can take 60 cards and we can actually have these pile decks working out is not only crazy to me, but it's astronomically insane. Now, you are going to notice for the Amino Murakumo and the Habagiri here, you're only playing one other name, and it's the Saji. Because, you know, you just need the Ame here to reveal this, or to reveal and go pop this, and Saji just kind of starts the whole little surge of BS that this deck is supposed to do. You also do see we are going with the triple engage on the Hornet Drones. The fact that this deck has 24 spell cards in it, and you could technically slam down an engage to get all of that draw power, or just get the extra draw, is kind of a stupid concept, actually. It's nothing new in the world of seeing these types of decks that, you know, suddenly things can get extra value, but it's kind of cool. This build is also only playing one field spell. Now, this is mainly because if you do lose, you know, if you do need the second field spell, you're already kind of losing that game. The whole logic of this is, you know, we branch out, we play the one, because you're setting up your board. If your opponent can crack apart your board, then, well, you're in a bad position kind of anyway at that point. You've got the full droplet package in here. You've got all of the possible hand trap combinations. Also, Ghost Spell in this format, I think, is one of the better cards that you can actually have. Nobody's going to appreciate this card until you have to actually shut off an important card coming back from the opponent's graveyard, and you're just like, oh, thank God I choose to play that card. Next up here. Oh, we actually just have a nice little rollback here to a pure Mitsurugi deck. Now, the cool thing about these pure builds is, honestly, it kind of comes down to Futsu. Do you want to, you know, go with actually including this? Because this is not a once per turn, you know, card. The whole fact of this guy is he's just going to continuously regenerate those fields for you. It's kind of why we like Futsu, you know, in these builds. But I've definitely seen, obviously, you just play the 2 Murakumo, the triple Habagiri, and then the Futsu just ends up being kind of the free DLC. It's like, if you want the what this card's capable of doing, usually does end up working. You've also, we're playing the one Great Purification. This card does a lot of work. You've also been noticing that Wozu has kind of become a mandatory side piece at this point, and I do kind of agree with this, honestly. Making sure that Wozu allows you to tribute any problematic card. And it's also funny because this just ends up being kind of like a kaiju solution. You know, it's like part of the summoning condition is, you know, wiping out something that the opponent has. Sure. You know, it's that sort of value that really gets you there. I also do see Pot of Extract has become absolutely mandatory in these lists, man. Because, you know, you do care about your extra deck to a degree. I mean, the things you care about are the Dynamondo, and actually the fact that you can make the Dynamondo and then just kind of bully something from the opponent's field is kind of crazy. Also, you know, we can side in the Gallant Granite to go search for this. It's kind of why I like the idea of having the Fossil Dyna as like a main deck target, you know, because you are going to usually have 2 level 2s to have access to. But I mean, that's kind of where people are going, hey, you know, we can bring out the Dugaris, we can bring out the Baguska, and kind of have that nice little passive option to kind of control your opponent. I mean, yes, you can. And our last list here was actually a Fire King Jira deck. Now, the reason why I chose to include this was, I mean, one, they uploaded their list, which I thought was really, really cool. But Jirax, especially getting access to something like the Meteor here, ends up being a big problem. And also, this does destroy. That will give your Fire Kings a ability to, you know, come back because their conditions haven't been met. I don't think people really give that enough thought either, but I love that idea. You've got in-house synergy, baby, from the Jirax. Oh boy. We're also playing the Fire Barrier statue. I will tell you, it feels like right now, not a single deck has an answer to a Fire Barrier statue. And that's kind of a scary thought to be thinking about, actually, because that means that we could just deploy this card and your opponent's going to be forced to look at it and go, what am I supposed to do about that? Unfortunately, I don't think you have a solution to this. That's kind of the crazy part about this deck is, you know, if you're playing all of these combo grind pieces, then you just kind of get free wins. Also, you know, we're going with the double Promethean Princess down here. You're not playing Pot of Extra, but I definitely feel like I want to be a little bit safer and probably have one of the best cards my deck wants to have access to. Especially rolling this thing on out and telling your opponent to figure out what they're going to do about it. Feels really, really good. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.